Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Diving with Brian and Sarah. And going to do something a little different. We're going to do a couple episodes on the Spiegel Grove, and normally I would just publish my videos to music or bubbles or something to let you guys enjoy the scenery. This is going to be a little different. I'm going to go through the Spiegel and the layout and some of our favorite portions and dives, and going to see Snoopy and things like that. So I was going to do this as one video, but it turned out to be really long, and Sarah suggested that people may want to just see one segment or one portion of it, and so I'm going to break it up into pieces. So this first episode is going to be just an overview of the Spiegel, the layout, kind of give you some feel for how the layout and how the dive site is configured, and then I'm going to do episodes on the different swim-throughs and different places you can go to see certain things, etc. So I should be publishing two at once. This episode 1 in the overview, and episode 2 is the episode that's going to be going to see Snoopy. So if you're interested in just, hey, I want to see Snoopy and the route I take to go see Snoopy, look in the description. I'll put the link to the Snoopy episode in the description. So I should be publishing them both at the same time. So this is the Spiegel Grove, our absolute favorite wreck to dive, our favorite dives. We've dove it countless times. We just absolutely love it. And part of the reason why we love it is it's configured different than a lot of ships, and I'll show you in some of the subsequent pictures, but it's a landing ship dock. LSD-32 is your ship, and the entire center of the ship was open to be able to carry, I believe, hovercraft. So it's unusual in that normally a ship, you have all these cabins and everything and hallways throughout the entire vessel, where it's just like an outer shell, and the entire inside is hollow now, or open. Now there's lower decks that are crossing the entire ship, etc. But for the most part of the decks that you generally will go to, there's not a lot of complication in them. Some of the mid decks there's a little bit, but it's extremely easy diving. So absolutely our favorite dive. So this is the Spiegel after preparation for the sinking as an artificial reef. You can see all of the masts and cables and things were taken off. A lot of access ports were cut in. These holes here. I know there's a couple of these doors that weren't in the original. These holes along the side. So they did a lot. In fact, in the next picture, you'll see the roof of it cut a number of holes in the roof to allow easy access for divers. I will say that, and I'll talk about it a little bit more later, there are more holes in this than are on this picture. So the only thing I can guess is, and I need to ask somebody that may know, they may have gone down afterwards and cut more holes in, because I know, and I've gone through here, there's large access ports, a couple along this deck here that aren't shown in this picture. So clearly, if this is this picture of it right before it was sunk, they must have gone down later and added some ports for divers. So this is the sinking of the Spiegel. Unfortunately, when they first sank it, it landed on its side. It didn't go down straight that they had planned it, but luckily enough, the hurricane came through and righted it. So now the ship is sitting pretty much in a north-south orientation upright, which makes it an absolutely spectacular dive. And here's those access ports I told you about, where they just, virtually every room in that upper deck, they cut access holes in. In fact, some of these holes, you can go multiple decks straight down through stairways, etc. You see there's access holes there, etc. So a very, very, very diveable wreck. So clarification or qualification, this is a informational entertainment video only. I'm not suggesting that you dive this. I'm not suggesting that this is within your capability. You have to decide what your capabilities and your comfort level is. dive within your own capabilities. If you have any concerns or questions or have never done this before, please, if you're going to attempt it, dive with an instructor, dive with a guide. It's not a beginner dive. It's fairly deep. Sand is 130 feet. Most of the decks that we're going to be talking about are in the 100 feet, and it's not for the beginner. So this is what I was talking about, the open area here. So this entire open section is great diving. There's sharks, etc., all up around through here. In fact, other videos that I've published, the one where the shark's coming straight at me was shot right here. This is like a cavern. I wouldn't say it's a cave because it's all open at the end, but it's a big cavern you can swim through, wildlife through it. So, there's under this deck, you can go onto this deck where was a landing pad there. The cranes are parked like you see them. They're parked across the gantries. Huge amount of wildlife all across all of those. There is an American flag that is on the control house that is facing aft on the ship. So a lot of people enjoy going down. So if you come in fact, if you're on the right ball, you can pop in and you're right next to where the flag is. And a number of people, it's a great photo op. A number of people go to do that. I think there also is a Marine flag, and I want to say it's just to the port side of the American flag on this column right here. But a lot of people talk about Snoopy. I'll show you a little bit more. The Snoopy's on level 1. I'll talk through that a little bit more. But great. It's it's such an open diving wreck that it's very accessible, especially with as much work as they've done in popping holes in it. It's very easy to get through, going through almost most of the wreck without having to pull a line or anything because of all the access ports. So when the dive boat gets to the wreck, you're going to be moored on one of the balls, and they generally go for the ball 6, which is this card shows the planned route that they're saying that's a really good dive route, which I agree with. Coming off ball 6 and go around. So the ball 6 is, if it's not taken, where most dive boats will take you to first, because it takes you right on top of the main structure, right at 62 feet, easy to get around. You can go through any of these holes and dive this whole upper area. Very easy, get to the American flag and come back. Probably the second balls that they'll go after are the 4 and 5 balls, which are on top of the cranes, about the same height or depth, I should say, as the number 6 ball, but it's right on top of the crane. So you're going to have to go down around it or traverse to get either to the forward area to do all of this, or go down to kind of get down into the rest of the ship. Caveat here: the balls that you see, some of them are no longer there. Some of them actually have been moved. In fact, I know this ball 7, which is an unusual ball. So balls 3 and 7 were actually, they're anchored into the sand, and they have a tagline coming across from a lower level ball to the vessel itself. So what you'll do is go down and then go follow that line that goes to the ship. You don't want to go down to the sand and then do your dive from there. I know for a fact that one's no longer there. In fact, it's more down here because we dove this number 7 ball last time, and it was tied off here. So when they did maintenance or replaced the balls or something, for some reason they wound up moving the number 7. So just be warned that sometimes the balls are either not there or they've moved. At this point, I should mention that the images you're seeing, I've taken pictures of the dive cards I have for these ships, and highly, highly, highly recommend you having, some sort of one of these cards. This one company, Arto Media, there's other companies that make similar ones. These are very, very handy to have. You get a good idea of the layout, etc. Most dive boats will have a big one. They'll talk through the dive site. But having one of your own that you can kind of see where things are, etc., is very helpful. I will say that you can see on the lower left, this is for informational purposes only. These are not always completely accurate. So I will show you a number of cases where they're showing there's doors and there's not doors, and there's doors where they're showing walls, and walls are not there, etc. Some of it is they did a lot of demo. They remove walls and cut access ports. So of course there's those differences, because although this one's showing some of the access ports, it's not definitive. But when you get on the inside, there are doors that were originally in the original ship that are shown that are not there. So please take it with a grain of salt that these are substantially correct, but not 100% correct. So level 4 is just the roof. At level 3, a lot of open area. If first time on the Spiegel, that's a good place to stay. You can, in fact, from level 3, you can go back to right where the flag is, dive around the outside of there. I will tell you on, between level 2 and level 3, and there's so much wildlife. That's most of the sharks are circling that area when you're going diving. So it's wonderful wildlife. There's so much to see on just these 2 levels. Sarah and I tend to spend more time on level 1 in the main deck, which I'll show you a little bit later. There's a lot more long hallways and things, so we tend to, in fact, we start off deep. We go do these swim throughs, and then we pop up to swim around level 2 and level 1 to give us a little bit more bottom time at a more shallow depth. And again, there's just so much more wildlife up there. But Snoopy's right here. Again, I'll put a link of the Snoopy video in the description. A little teaser, my normal route to Snoopy, and there's there's many ways to get there, but for us, the easy way is I go in this left door, pop through. This is, I think this is the mess hall where the sailors would eat. There's like posts where I think there were tabletops that were mounted on them. There's a door here that's not shown as a wall, but there is a door there. So you swim through that. These walls were removed. You can see where the walls were. And then you just turn right and you go to Snoopy. And this is what Snoopy looks like when you get there. Now, I would say at either side, at the end of this Snoopy hallway, this wall is not there. Don't know if it was removed, but there's not a wall there. There is a stairwell here, and there's a stairwell there that goes up and down. I know this stairwell, you can go straight up all the way out to, through the roof. And you can go down to the main deck, which I'll show you in a second. So that's one of the places that I will, if we're going up or down, I usually try and use that stairwell because I'm kind of anchored to where it is. This wall isn't there. Again, I don't know if it was removed, but when you're in here, this is what it looks like looking all the way through, and you can see that doorway that's all the way at the other side of other end of the vessel, right at the stern side. So you can swim all that hallway all the way through. Again, there's, a lot of these walls were removed, and there's access ports. There's access ports on the outside that are not shown, but it's very easy to kind of pop in and pop out. There's not a lot of debris in these. I know the reason I don't go into the right-hand side, there is some debris when you go through this hallway here, and there's some debris that's almost blocking the doorway there. I guess during the hurricane, it probably fell over, and it's a little bit more of a small swim through. It's not hard, but it's just there's more debris on this side. It's just easier on the starboard side, the right-hand side versus the port side. Now, going down to the main deck, there's 2 great hallways to go through. Our favorite is the starboard side. So if you come by the crane and you look down, there's almost two little walls here that you see a door right at the stern side on the back side of this structure, and that hallway is open all the way through. So these, again, I don't know if they've removed these walls or that these were all doors, but there's a easy swim through starting at this side and just going straight all the way out the front. There's really not any obstacles. It's easy to get through. There are openings to the outside. In fact, this is swimming down that hallway, and you can see turning to the outside, turning to the starboard side, you can see somebody cut holes in it. So that original picture that I showed you, that there were no holes on this deck, here's the holes that they've cut in it, and there's a number of them down this hallway. So that's our favorite hallway to go through. It's just really long. There's many rooms to go through, etc. On the opposite side, on the port side, there is a similar hallway that you can go through. The only catch is, and again, you can go straight through. I think it's very, very easy until you get to the completely forward part of that hall, and you hit a point where you think that there's a dead end, that you have to. In fact, I know there's an opening here that you can kind of go out. You think you've hit a dead end. And you haven't. You have to kind of swim around these walls, and there's a hole, there's a hallway cut into this wall that you can kind of swim up this hallway. So this representation is not right. In fact, this area here, this is what it looks like when you're going in there. So you'll pan through, and you can see you kind of turn around the corner where you think you've hit a dead end. If you kind of tuck in that corner and turn, then you keep going straight through the hallway and pop straight out the front. But both of those are fantastic swim throughs all the way. I will do a separate video on those just to show you guys those, but that's going to be separate from the Snoopy video. Other than that, although going through the ship is fantastic, there is so much wildlife. We love to kind of pop in a hallway and pop in this big open area, swim around. There's some much coral and everything on all of these cranes, and there's so much wildlife that we'll tend to do a swim through and then come out and just look at the wildlife, swim with the sharks. I mean, I don't know that there's been a time I've been on the Spiegel that there's not been at least one shark, and usually it's 3, 4, 5, 6 sharks, and so there's all kinds of wildlife all over the Spiegel. That's it for today. I will, like I said, I'm going to put some links to the other videos. So if you really want to see the footage of going through, I'll put links in the description. But enjoy diving the Spiegel. It's fantastic if you choose to do it. Again, dive within your own limits, etc. And dive safe. Shout out to Conch Republic, our favorite dive shop. Pretty much the only dive shop that we will dive with in the Keys. They are just fantastic. They dive the Spiegel all the time, and we just love diving with them. Dive safe. Have fun, guys.